Hey, what's going on? What's up, everybody? Welcome into Takes and Stakes. We are back. We got a few different things to go over today. I wanted to recap the NFL this week, in particularly the Monday Night Football game. Some good betting strategies there. The NBA game tonight, go over some player trends to watch and perhaps some player prop bets to watch as well. And then MLB, just a betting strategy there. I'm not going to go through all the games today. But there is a good betting strategy associated with baseball. I haven't really touched on baseball since doing this. And so figure why not go ahead and go over that as well. So I'll try to get through the first two as quickly as possible, spend a little time on that. So going to the NFL, I want to talk about the Monday Night Football game between the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders. And this was a good chance to take 2 touchdowns or more in this game for certain players. And even with the Sunday night game between Seattle and New England, there was some good odds there for players to score 2 touchdowns. And so what I want to go over is the 2 touchdown prop bet in the NFL. So let's start with the Monday night game first. So New Orleans and Las Vegas. Here are some players with odds last night to score 2 or more touchdowns in the game. So you had Jason Witten, who is plus 5,000. You had Taysom Hill, not Jason Hill, Taysom Hill, 3,500. You had both Ruggs and Renfrow, plus 2,000. You had Darren Waller, plus 1,600. And then you had Alvin Kamara at plus 400. These are the odds for players to score at least 2 touchdowns in last night's game. So immediately, if you're looking at the odds and you take all of these players, you're going to profit. So let's just use $1 as an example here. So let's say you want to take these guys to score 2 touchdowns. So $1 will win you 50 for Witten. Okay? Taysom Hill, 35. Ruggs or Renfrow, 20. Waller, for $1, will win you 16. Alvin Kamara, for $1.25, will win you 5. So, looking at this right here, you can add another $1.25 for 10. So you're spending $2.50, basically, to win 10. Okay, so $2.50. So you take this, 250, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to cost you $6.50 to take all of this. So if Alvin Kamara, who has the lowest odds, hits, you profit. It's not much, right? But you are profiting. Okay? Any of these would be considered stellar. That's a huge win, especially if you're betting more than $1, which most people are. I'm just using the simplicity of an example with the dollar. So, I mean, look at this value, though. It's incredible. But this allows you to profit. Now, you can get greedy and say, oh, I'm going to put $2 instead. Well, then if Kamara hits, you won't profit. So your best bet is to just go with $1 on 2 touchdown odds, and then go with someone who's very likely to hit 2 touchdowns. That's my betting strategy there. Cam Newton had odds to score 2 touchdowns in Sunday night's game at plus 2,000. So it was the same thing, and he did it. So he hit for me. He was one of the $1 for 20s. None of my others hit on Sunday Night Football, but that didn't matter at that point because one of them hit. Worst case scenario is you lose $6.50. Very doable. And so for bettors in the NFL next week, I want you to go through games, especially we can use Thursday night as a good example. I'll do a preview for the Thursday night game between Miami and Jacksonville, and we'll look through the 2 touchdown prop odds and kind of find a formula that might work, because there is great value here to profit. Again, if you're betting $1 or whatever, and Kamara's the only one that hits, or whoever is the likely one with low odds to hit, if they hit, you're not going to see a huge profit, but you will see a profit. You will see plus value. And then any of these others that hit, you're good to go. And again, Cam Newton on Sunday Night Football, he was plus 2,000. Nothing else mattered because you won that. So you profited automatically. So we'll go through the Thursday night game, but that's just a strategy that I've been using about 2 weeks or so now in the NFL. Well, I guess it's only been 2 weeks. But so yeah, the first 2 weeks of the NFL, I've noticed that. So keep your eyes on 2 touchdown betting odds for football games. Now, I'm not saying go through every single game on Sunday and bet on all the 1 p.m. games. No, that's not what I'm saying. But look through certain games that you like and certain players that you think can score 2 touchdowns. Darren Waller scored a touchdown late in the Raider game, and Las Vegas had multiple chances to give Waller another touchdown. He didn't hit, but he came very close. Taysom Hill, he almost scored a touchdown very early in the Saints game. He got the ball at the 1 yard line. They stopped him. But if he scored that touchdown, you then have 3 quarters basically for Hill to score another touchdown, which would have seen a $35 profit if you were only betting $1. And again, worst case scenario is you lose $6.50. Most people will lose that betting on one team, so it doesn't. I just think it is a good risk reward strategy. And so we'll go through the Thursday game though, and figure something out that works, because obviously I don't have the odds for Thursday in front of me right now. So yeah, 2 touchdown prop betting, consider it, and we'll revisit that this week. Let's go to the NBA game, because we have a big one, especially if you are a Denver Nugget fan. This certainly seems like a must-win game. However, Denver has won 6 straight games when they are facing elimination. So technically, if Denver loses tonight, then they might have good odds to win games. What is it? 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. So Denver, when their back is against the wall, is very, very good. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, Denver, they seemingly cover the spread against the Lakers. Tonight, they are given, I'm using DraftKings odds. Okay, so they're given a plus 6.5. So they're giving them a little bit more respect. That's a bit worrisome if I'm betting Denver. Plus 6.5, the way the Lakers have been playing, in particular, Anthony Davis has been lights out. To win straight up, 215. Again, I think these are a bit low. I want something closer to 300 if I'm taking the Nuggets over a very, very good Laker team. And LeBron only scored 6 total points in the second half. I know that because I bet on LeBron to score 26.5 or more points in the game, and he finished at halftime with 20. I needed 7, and he got 6. So it was kind of a bummer, but that just goes to show you that LeBron doesn't even need to be on his game for the Lakers to win, which is very, very scary. Despite how good he was in the first half, he didn't do anything in the second half. And so that's scary if you're betting against the Lakers. I would want something much better than 215. The Lakers have seen the favorite win 21 of 23 playoff games. And so the Lakers are going to be minus 6.5, and their odds are over minus 200. I don't know if I would consider that just yet. Maybe wait for Denver in maybe the third quarter. They take a lead. Maybe that lead gets extended to 7 or 8. Then if you're comfortable with taking the Lakers at a much lower price than you're going to see here, maybe plus 100 or so. Sorry, I did the circle before the plus. Let's just redraw that. So plus, they might get 100 or lower. That might be good to take live. But to take before the game starts, if you're pulling for the Lakers, you either better have a lot of money where you could bet that, or just wait and wait for, hopefully, Denver to take a late lead in which the Lakers will see a cheaper price tag to take. Even at minus 170 for the Lakers, if they're down by 5 in the third, might be worth a look. Let's get to player props, because that's my favorite. Always hitting on these. Shout out to Goran Dragic for always putting up 20-point performances. So let's start with the superstars. Anthony Davis. He's been on a rampage lately. You got LeBron, who I talked about. He failed to cover his point total, but he's not always going to do that. LeBron James is not always going to only score 6 points in the second half. Expect him to score more points than that moving forward. So we'll put LeBron's name up here for now. We also have Nikola Jokic. So these will be the 3 names to watch in tonight's game in terms of prop betting. Nikola Jokic, he has seen 25 or more points in 13 of his last 19 playoff games. So with the DraftKings, Nikola Jokic over 23.5 points, so 24 or more, is minus 139. You can probably find better value closer to plus 100 if you think Jokic will score 25, 26, 27, 28 points. But again, the trend stops at 25. So if you're going to buy down, my advice would be maybe only consider 24.5, which won't be plus 100, but it will be something probably closer to minus 124 in that range. But yeah, it's not an elimination game yet for Denver. But Jokic plays hell of a game. All the Nuggets do when their back is against the wall, which it basically is. This isn't an elimination game, but it absolutely feels like it. LeBron James, God, really killed me in the second half last game. He has scored 28 or more points in 6 of 7 game threes. Interesting trend there. For LeBron James, over 26.5, which is what I took and missed. So be careful. But he is seeing plus value. I would take that. Don't worry. It's LeBron James. And if you're even looking for better value, take his triple-double odds. LeBron's triple-double odds usually hover around 300 or higher. To put in a range, he will probably only go as low as 280 and won't go higher than 325. So you can get a LeBron James triple-double for any of these odds. Throw a few bucks on it. It might not land, but it's LeBron James. He's a triple-double machine. He's very capable of doing them. And for these odds, it's worth consideration. LeBron, he burnt me last game, but that's okay. It's LeBron James. You can't do it every night. And the fact that he had 20 at half and then only got 6, that's fine. He put up 20 points in the first half. If LeBron James scores 6 points in the first half, then scores 20 in the second half, it's a non-story. It's a non-story at that point. But because the half switched, it became a little bit more relevant, especially for bettors. Myself, I'm not worried. It's not like, LeBron's now in the doghouse in terms of betting. He's not. And so for getting plus value for 27 or more points when the trend says he should score at minimum 28, I think you go into that market. And again, if you're not cozy with that, LeBron James triple-double odds are usually worth throwing a few bucks on. Even if he doesn't hit, that's fine. Worth the value for what he can accomplish in my mind. Let's go with the last name, Anthony Davis. He has been 30 or more, but specifically 31 points or more in 6 of his last 7 when favored against Denver, and the Lakers are favored. The thing I don't like about Anthony Davis is his odds. So they're giving him 27.5 over, so 28 or more points at minus 117. Now, Davis has been electric. He's been lights out. There is going to be a game where he doesn't put up 30. He might put up 21, 22. He might put up 16 and 11 and 5 blocks and still produce well. The odds of Anthony Davis being a 30-point player every single night is very low. And normally I'd be like, no, take that. but the odds aren't good. Minus 117 for 28 is not good, which means even if you go to maybe 29.5, that's when plus value might, depending on the sports book, might come into play. It still could be minus for some. And so you're basically spending a lot of money on Davis to score a lot of points. As good as he is, no, look elsewhere. Look elsewhere. Even rebounds, I'd be more comfortable with Anthony Davis. That market is a little bit cheaper for what he can accomplish. But to pay a lot for a player to score a lot is just not smart betting financially, especially with a sport like basketball, where you're playing almost night after night, and consistency is tough. Even with the good players, they could have 5 great nights in a row, then one night where it's just and then they're right back to having 5 great nights, and you completely forget about the one night. You don't want to be the one spending a lot of money on that one night. So be wary about Anthony Davis in terms of scoring a lot of points, just because it's so expensive. Michael Porter Jr. is a name to consider in terms of points. Let me erase this real quick. So Michael Porter Jr. and KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Got some 3-letter initials going on here. KCP, he has seen 10 or more points in 4 straight games. Okay. And DraftKings is going to offer Kentavious Caldwell-Pope over 9.5 points at minus 106. I think that's cheap enough to take. The way he has been hitting his 3-point shots in this series as well, he should see 10. Should be pretty easy. If the Lakers are blowing out Denver again, he will also see the garbage time minutes at the end of the game. So yeah, maybe consider that. I think those are cheap enough for KCP. And then finally, we land on Michael Porter Jr. And Michael Porter Jr. has been playing a little bit better, despite the bridges that have seemingly been burnt by Mike Malone. Porter Jr. has seen 14 or more points in 3 straight games versus the Lakers. And DraftKings is offering over 10.5. So he doesn't even need to hit 14, just 11. Minus 122. Again, this presents a good chance. If you wanted to buy up for better value, you could go 12.5. That's 13 points Porter Jr. would need, and you could probably get something over plus 100. So Michael Porter Jr., also consider him in player prop betting as well. So those are the names for player prop betting in the NBA to watch in tonight's playoff game. What do we got? MLB. That's right. I want to go over MLB real quick. Well, not real quick, but run totals. I want to talk about run totals with baseball. Okay. When you're going through baseball games to bet on, there will always be run totals. And what this means is you are betting, let's say the run total is 9.5. Basically, you are betting on a game to see at least 10 runs or more at 9.5. Some people like run totals, right? Not bad. Then you have individual team run totals. So let's just say the Braves are playing the Yankees, right? And let's say the Braves have a run total of 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. At 160, and the Yankees, let's just say same odds. Let's just say same odds. Okay. You notice when you're looking at the games, you notice that the Atlanta pitcher has an ERA of 6.3 or something, anywhere really above 4.5. Actually, 5. Anything of 5 or more, you notice with the Atlanta pitcher. And they're playing in Yankee Stadium, which you know is a hitter-friendly ballpark. Take this. Or take this. All Atlanta has to do is score 4 or 5 runs in the game. Nothing else matters. Right? Take it. Or excuse me. For this, let's just say this ERA is for the Yankees pitcher instead. And these are the Braves odds. Take these odds. basically what I'm saying is for each baseball game, what I want you to do is look at pitchers' ERAs. Then I want you to look at the venue they're playing in, because some are hitter friendly as opposed to others. And I want you to look at the run total per team. These three keys right here. Because what you'll find is that you're going to hit on most of these bets. And even if it's not looking that way, then you can live and hedge it if you need to or feel like you need to. Because sometimes just taking the loss is better. I always say taking the loss is better, unless you see a good opportunity. But if you look at these three things before baseball games, usually you can hit on a good run total, and these present good parlay opportunities. So let's just say, mirror, mirror, all of this is the same for the Mets versus the Reds, okay? And you notice they're playing in Cincinnati, a hitter-friendly park, and Steven Matz is pitching. He's got a 5 ERA, Steven Matz, okay? If you see these odds are similar to the Reds, you could parlay Atlanta over 3.5 runs, Cincinnati over 3.5 runs, and you should see a pretty good value there. I think when you're betting baseball, always look at who's pitching on the mound. Whatever market you're betting on for any baseball game, the first thing you need to look at is who's pitching for both teams. The ERA is a huge teller. Now, if you come across a pitcher who has started 2 games and he's 0-1 with an 8 ERA, okay, obviously the sample size is not as large. But if you come across a pitcher who has 8 starts in the season and he's 2-3 with a 7.1 ERA, that 2-3 records indicates, well, his team seems to hit when he's pitching. The guy's got a 7 ERA and he's 2-3. I'm not convinced they'll lose, but with a 7 ERA, he should get lit up. That's when you go to the alternate run total market. I'm telling you, that is, or the run total in general. I mean, if you feel cozy going with the overall game run total, feel free. But again, I think that if you go per team, what you're basically betting on is you're betting against the pitcher that they are facing. So it's never a bad idea to bet against a pitcher with an ERA of 5 or higher. It's also never bad to bet against a pitcher pitching in a hitter-friendly park. What's a hitter-friendly park? The New York Yankees, the Cincinnati Reds, both hitter-friendly parks. Atlanta, hitter-friendly park. Boston, hitter-friendly park. What's not a hitter-friendly park? Miami, not a hitter-friendly park at all. Huge outfield. San Francisco, not a hitter park. So if you know your venues too, that will help. But ultimately, the deciding factor also will be the alternate run total per team. So per each team. That is what you need to be looking at. And you should be seeing more successful bets if you approach it that way. So yeah, like last night, a good example was this is a good time to erase and write up here. So last night, the Atlanta Braves were playing the Miami Marlins, right? And you had pitchers on the mound with ERAs close to 7 and 8. You're expecting a huge, huge scoring, huge offensive game between the Braves and the Marlins. So big that odds makers had the run total at 13.5, which is unheard of. That's insane, 13.5. So after the first inning of the game, the score was 4-3. So you got 7 runs in the first inning, right? 13.5's looking pretty good. You're halfway there. You have a whole baseball game to play. The final score is 5-4, Atlanta. So 8 innings later, this wasn't even close to cover. It didn't even come close to covering with 9 total runs, right? Guess what did cover? Atlanta, over 3.5, over 4.5. This was about minus 120 at most places, right? Miami had 4 runs of their own. Okay, minus 150 is not overly appealing, but it's cheap. For 4 runs against a pitcher for Atlanta whose ERA was 7, this is where you need to focus with baseball betting. in my mind. You don't have to. It's just my opinion. This is how you should be looking. Look at pitchers' ERAs, the venue they're playing at, and then the odds that the alternate run lines have per each team. And then from there, you should be able to make some educational decisions and bets that you can live with even if they miss. So yeah, that's it. NFL recap. We will revisit the 2 touchdown prop market on Thursday and see if there's any good formulas out there that will work. NBA should be a fun night tonight. Got those player props out. Go do your research though. If there's other trends that you like in terms of 3-pointers made, assists, rebounds, things like that, feel free to go explore that market as well. Player prop bets always worth consideration. And again, baseball. If you need to play around today with some chump change and develop a strategy that you feel comfortable with, do so. But again, look at pitchers' ERAs. Look at the venue they're playing at. Go into the run total market. Go into individual team run total markets and try to find something that you think is worth taking at a pretty cheap cost. Emmys were really good. Did very well at the Emmys. Zendaya, the long shot pick at plus 1,400. She was plus 800 when I did the video. When the Emmys started, she was plus 1,401. So if you put $1 on Zendaya and you would win back $14. And all over the internet, people were like, how is she an upset? How is she an underdog? I watch her show. She should have been favored. Awesome. That means if you should have been betting on her, because then you would be the rich one. You would be the one coming out in the end saying, I told you so. I'm smarter. But I'm not going to say that because I did miss a few bets. But I did very well. Swept Schitt's Creek. Did very well with Zendaya. Missed Brian Cox, but that's okay. Jeremy Strong won, who I did recommend but didn't take. I ended up taking Brian Cox. Mark Ruffalo, lock of the night, won at minus 167. But again, Zendaya was the best bet of the night, hands down. Plus 1,400. You came out a big winner if you took her. So congratulations if you knew she was going to win. Good job. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for tuning in. Take some stakes. Go out there, make some money, make some good bets. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, subscribe, like. Do all that. Follow us on Twitter as well. Any social platforms we're on, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. So that's my sign off. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two. Have a good day.